Good morning, guys. Are you ready for what's happening next in The One and Only Ivan? Before we start today, I want to go backwards. I wrote myself a sticky last night, a couple stickies. You can see I'm keeping track of my characters right here. So far, we've got Mac, who's the owner of the Big Top Motel, the Big Top Mall. We've got Stella, who we know so far not very much about Stella, but we know she's an elephant. Bob, who's a dog. And then Julia, who's the cleaner's daughter. Yesterday, I asked you a question. I said, how does Ivan react to things? So far, what do you think you know about Ivan? What do you think is something that you could say is part of his character, part of who he is? I think one of the things that we could say is that we know that Ivan is pretty patient, and he talked about how he doesn't get angry. So we know a couple of things. So we know he doesn't react by being angry. We know that he reacts patiently, like he has a lot of patience. So I just want to keep those in our brain as we continue to. Oh, we also know that Ivan is an artist, right? So I want to keep those things in our brain as we go forward. You can see Gus is here today. He wanted to read along with me. I've got my sticky notes handy, so in case I need to keep track of anything. The thing I want you to be thinking about as I'm reading today is characters in books and in series. So it doesn't matter if you're reading a big fat chapter book or if you're reading a series like Henry and Mudge or Pinky and Rex or anything like that. When you learn about a character, they can change and they can learn new things, but there's certain things about them that stay the same throughout either the entire book or through the entire series of books. Okay, the next chapter, Shapes in Clouds. I think I've always been an artist. Even as a baby, still clinging to my mother, I had an artist's eye. I saw shapes in clouds and in sculptures in the tumbled stones at the bottom of the stream. I have to read that again. That didn't sound very fluent. I saw shapes in the clouds and sculptures in the tumbled stones at the bottom of the stream. I grabbed at colors. The crimson flower just out of reach, the ebony bird streaking past. Crimson is red, right? And ebony is black. I am keeping track of something else as I'm reading. I am keeping track of some passages that we're going to use later as we go. So I'm going to go ahead and make sure I highlight that one sentence. I don't remember much about my early life, but I do remember this. Whenever I got the chance, I would dip my fingers into the cool mud and use my mother's back as a canvas. She was a patient soul, my mother. Well, my pages are stuck together. There we go. Imagination. Someday I hope I can draw the way Julia does, imagining worlds that don't yet exist. I know what most human thinks. They think gorillas don't have any imaginations. They think we don't remember our pasts or ponder our futures. Come to think of it, I suppose they have a point. Mostly, I think about what is, not what could be. I've learned not to get my hopes up. Oh, that's kind of sad to me. So he's kind of sad because he's not getting his hopes up. That would be a sad place to be all the time. I've learned not to get my hopes up. Oh, the next chapter, the loneliest gorilla in the world. So that might be something else that we know about Ivan, that he's feeling kind of lonely. When the Big Top Mall was first built, it smelled of new paint and fresh hay, and humans came to visit from morning till night. They drifted past my domain like logs on a lazy river. Lately, a day might go by without a single visitor. Max says he's worried. He says, I'm not cute anymore. He says, Ivan, you've lost your magic, old guy. You used to be a big hit. It's true that some of my visitors don't linger the way they used to. They stare through the glass. They cluck their tongues. Everyone give it a go. Cluck your tongues. They frown while I watch my TV. He looks lonely, they say. Not long ago, a little boy stood in front of my glass, tears streaming down his smooth red cheeks. He must be the loneliest gorilla in the world, he said, clutching his mother's hand. At times like that, I wish humans could understand me the way that I can understand them. It's not so bad, I want to tell the little boy. With enough time, you can get used to almost anything. Next chapter is called TV. My visitors are often surprised when they see the TV that Mac put in my domain. They seem to find it odd, the sight of a gorilla staring at tiny humans in a box. I'm going to read that again. They seem to find it odd, the sight of a gorilla staring at tiny humans in a box. Sometimes I wonder, though, isn't that the way they stare at me, sitting in my tiny box? Isn't that just as strange? My TV is old, it doesn't always work, and sometimes days will go by before anyone remembers to turn it on. I'll watch anything, but I'm particularly fond of cartoons with their bright jungle colors. I especially enjoy it when someone slips on a banana peel. Bob, my dog friend, loves TV almost as much as I do. He prefers to watch professional bowling and cat food commercials. Bob and I have seen many romance movies, too. In romance, there's always hugging and sometimes face licking. I have yet to see a single romance starring a gorilla. We also enjoy old Western movies. In a Western, someone always says, "This town ain't big enough for the both of us, Sheriff." In a Western, you can always tell who the good guys are and who the bad guys are, and the good guys always win. Bob says Westerns are nothing like real life. I don't know if you can see this picture very well. There's Ivan, his reflection in the TV. So that's the TV he gets to watch, but that you can just see his reflection right in that TV. The Nature Show. I have been in my domain for 9,850 days. 9,850 days. Anyone feel like they need a challenge out there? Take that number, 9,850 days. Let me find my whiteboard and write that down for you. 9,850. 9,850. Okay, so that's the number, 9,800. That's how long he's been in his domain. Now, if you want a challenge, I want you to figure out how many years that has been, okay? So there are 365 days in a year. Anyone want to figure it out? Go for it. You could make me a seesaw about it. It's not mandatory. You don't have to do it, but if you're looking for a big math challenge, this would be it. I'll give you the answer. Not today. In an upcoming episode. Okay, The Nature Show. I have been in my domain for 9,850 days alone. For a while, when I was young and foolish, I thought I was the last gorilla on Earth. Tried not to dwell on it. Still, it's hard to stay upbeat when you think there are no more of you. Then, one night, after I watched a movie about men in black hats with guns and feeble-minded horses, a different show came on. It was not a cartoon, not a romance, not a Western. I saw a lush forest. I heard birds murmuring. The grass moved, the trees rustled. Then I saw him. He was a bit threadbare and scrawny. Think of your favorite stuffy that you've had since you were a baby. And think of parts of him that maybe aren't as cuddly or as furry as they used to be. Threadbare. That's what threadbare is. And scrawny means he's kind of lost some of his stuffing. He's not as big and plump and fluffy as maybe he used to be. He was a bit threadbare and scrawny and not as good looking as I am, to be honest. But sure enough, he was a gorilla. And suddenly, as suddenly as he appeared, the gorilla vanished. And in his place was a scruffy white animal called, I learned, a polar bear. And then a chubby water creature called a manatee. And then another animal and another. All night, I sat wondering about the gorilla I'd glimpsed. Where did he live? Why would he ever come to visit? If there was a he somewhere, could there be a she as well? Or was it just the two of us, all alone in the world, trapped in our own separate boxes? Okay, I'm going to stop right there for today. I will see you tomorrow. Tomorrow, we get to learn more about Stella. I hope you're all doing well, and I hope you're loving this book as much as I am. Gus is loving it. I have to tell you, when I got up here today, he was peeking through, looking at the picture, so he got a little sneak peek. Anyway, I hope you're good. I'll talk to you soon. Bye, guys.